reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty or living in the fifth dimension. This podcast is about how you can recognize when you need to reclaim your sovereignty and what it's all about. So welcome, beautiful souls, to today's journey inwards, a space where we breathe a little deeper, listen a little closer, and return to a truth that we've always known, but we often forget. That we are divine, that we are sovereign, that we are whole. So today's episode is about reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty, what it means to surpass the limitations of the human mind, embrace the totality of who you are, and step into the frequencies of love, of unity, and instant manifestation, a state that many people call the fifth dimension. So settle in, open your heart, your remembrance begins now. What is spiritual sovereignty? Spiritual sovereignty is your birthright. It is the knowing that your power, your wisdom, your intuition, and your divine spark, all of it belongs to you. Not to your past, not to all the fears that you carry, not to any of the expectations that are placed upon you by your family, by the culture, by society, by the world. It is that quiet but unshakable understanding that I am the author of my own reality. Reclaiming your sovereignty means stepping out of the stories that you are too small for, that your soul is now wanting to expand and push past it and recognize who you truly are. So, when we're on this spiritual journey, reclaiming our sovereignty is a majorly part of it. It is a remembering that you are not here on earth to be controlled, to be diminished, or to be defined as a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. You're here to awaken, to rise up, and to live from a place of conscious choice. So let's take a moment to have a look at where sovereignty gets lost and basically how we can reclaim it and what crystals can help us do that. So one of the first things is when you give your power to other people or to other people's opinion, you need their approval to feel worthy, or you make decisions based on fear of judgment of what people might think of you, or you shrink your truth so that you can fit in and be part of the crowd. Or sometimes you apologize for who you are naturally. I'm so sorry. I have a tendency to be X, Y, or Z. But reclaiming your sovereignty means to be comfortable with who you are. And one of the best crystals to use is labradorite, because labradorite strengthens your personal magic and your intuition. It also puts a shield around your aura so that you don't feel judgment and projection from other people, and it helps you to trust your inner voice and put boundaries in place. So a soul truth for this would be that your worth is not up for negotiation. Your worthiness is not up for negotiation. Another way that we lose our sovereignty is through past relationships that maybe dictate where your present reactions are. So a loss of sovereignty in past relationships can be triggered reactions instead of conscious responses. They can be repeating cycles because of old wounds, protecting yourself, looking out for yourself so you don't open your heart too much and get hurt again. Believing that the past that you've had defines your identity. So if you've had a past where you haven't been the kind of person that you want to be, that is identifying who you are in the now. Or sometimes it may be that you feel trapped in outdated emotional patterns, neediness, whatever. So to reclaim your sovereignty, a crystal I would recommend is rose quartz, which heals emotional scars, softens self-judgment, and helps the inner child feel safe. So a soul truth on this reclamation would be, you are not what happened to you. You are who you decide to become. That's quite important, isn't it? To remember that we've all made bad choices. We've all done things that maybe we're not proud of. And that doesn't define who you are now. That you are not what happened to you or how you behaved. You are who you decide to now become. Another loss of sovereignty can be when your life is controlled by fear. Fear of failure, scarcity, fear of being seen, fear of losing love, or fear of change. Again, a good crystal here would be black tourmaline to ground excess fear, clear energetic static from the nervous system, and strengthen courage. So a soul truth that you might want to remind yourself here is that fear is just a visitor. Love is who you are and is sustainable. What about when your boundaries are weak or absent? You're maybe saying yes when your soul is screaming no, when you're overgiving, when you feel resentful but staying silent, when you allow others to drain your time, energy, or emotions. So reclaiming your sovereignty here, you need to define your non-negotiables. Practice micro boundaries daily, saying I'm not going to do this or whatever, and just putting small boundaries in place. And say to yourself, I honour myself first because I am allowed to take up space. One of the things I used to do was I'd get up in the morning, see to the dog, feed the dog, see to my husband, see to everything, and then I'd have my breakfast. And I remember thinking, I put everything before me. So I started reversing it and putting boundaries in place, and I would see to me first and then see to the dog and everything else. And I know this sounds silly, but it was just one of the things I'd automated myself into. So reclaiming a withdrawal of your energy is actually a sacred act. And one of the crystals I would recommend here is hematite, because hematite reinforces energetic and emotional boundaries and encourages confidence to say no. It stabilizes your personal power. So a soul truth that you may want to consider here is boundaries are not walls. They are the architecture of self-love. Now, I remember writing this and thinking, yes, I like this. Boundaries are not walls, but they are the architecture of being able to have self-love. Love it. Another way you lose your sovereignty is when you over-identify with your mind. Overthinking, anxiety, analysis, living in your head instead of your heart, and believing only what seems logical. So to reclaim this kind of power, you want to shift your attention from thought into your breath, into your breathing, and then eventually into your heart. And ask your heart, what do I feel? What do I know beyond my logic mind? You might want to meditate to calm your mind and amplify your true self. Treat the mind as a tool, not as a master. A crystal that will help you here is amethyst, because amethyst is really good at calming mental chatter, opening intuitive and higher states of awareness, and aligning you with your soul's purpose, not your thoughts. Now, if you're anything like me, I almost take amethyst for granted because I don't always choose amethyst. I will look at suzalite or charoite or some of the other more less known in the purple spectrum. But when I went back to amethyst just recently, I began to remember how absolutely amazing it is as a purifier, especially a purifier of a mind. So your soul truth here might be the mind is clever, but your soul is wise. So recognizing that your mind can be very clever, it can trick you. It can trick you into, my mind knows what my heart wants, so therefore I'm coming from my heart. And in actual fact, it's your mind dictating what your heart should or should not be feeling. So just be careful, because your mind is very clever and your mind has been programmed to tell you what a good heart should be. And I know entering my heart started speaking to me and massively challenging my mind. It was like, what? So my heart would say, I don't want to do this. And my mind would say, but you're not a good person if you don't want to do this. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd listen to my mind instead of my heart, which is saying, I really don't want to do this. So remember that your soul is wise and that your mind can trick you. Another way we lose sovereignty is to seek external spiritual authority. Look to others to find out what's right for us, thinking that someone else has the answers. That, sometimes we idolize a teacher, a guru, a medium, or a healer, believing that guidance outside of you is more valuable than your own intuition because you've lost touch with your intuition, losing yourself through spiritual dependence. Now, I am not for anything saying that you shouldn't look to good mediums and teachers and gurus. Well, I'd be putting myself out of a job, really, wouldn't I? But basically what I'm saying here is don't prioritize. Listen to what they have to say, but internalize what they're saying and ask, does this resonate with me? So don't get lost in what other people have to offer you. And it may be very, very valuable information that helps you tremendously. And that is great, but it could also be steering you off-piste. So use teachings as a mirror. Say that you honor your own and find your own resonance. And a great crystal here is lapis lazuli. So just remember that no one is closer to your truth than you are. Now, when you abandon yourself to keep others more comfortable is another loss of sovereignty. So minimizing your needs, silencing your feelings, playing small so others won't feel threatened by you, or staying in misaligned relationships, jobs, or environments, or holding back. I know I did it with my crystal teachings and healings, and I even now sometimes think, what are they going to think of me when I tell them that I'm teach crystal healing and I'm talking to, a plumber or somebody who probably doesn't even know what a crystal does. And I have to push past that and say, no, this is my truth. This is who I am, and I must own me. And just make sure that you commit to yourself daily. Choose discomfort over self-abandonment, because the minute I say, I'm a teacher, and I miss out the bit that I teach about crystals or angels even, then I'm abandoning who I really am. I'm disowning myself, and that really isn't good. It isn't me filling my inner connection with myself. So, don't betray yourself. Be you and allow yourself to, be into crystals, angels, whatever it is that you don't feel comfortable with. And maybe consider using citrine because it raises self-worth. It will increase your personal power and support you being authentic and honest about who you are. And yeah, I do now shout it out to the world. I teach crystals and I talk to angels. You were not born to dim the light that you are shining. When you live in survival mode rather than creation mode is another way we lose our sovereignty. Struggling with scarcity consciousness, lack of time, lack of money, lack of friends, lack of anything. Feeling powerless over money or circumstances, believing life happens to you and not through you. Now, this is a big one. Reclaiming sovereignty here is a shift from reaction to intention and to practice gratitude as a frequency tool to align with trust and not scarcity. So when you remember that you are the creator of your reality, that your vibration is the blueprint of your experience here on earth, then you start to align with your ability to be affluent on all levels. And the crystal here is pyrite, which anchors abundance into your energy frequency and shifts you from the lack to the creator mindset. So fall into, how can I express my creativity? And pyrite strengthens manifestation. So the truth here is that as you shift your frequency, your reality shifts automatically. Another loss of sovereignty is when you silence your inner child. A lack of joy, creativity is frozen, and you get in that where you're treading a treadmill kind of thing, doing things not that you enjoy doing, but things that you feel I have to do, feeling disconnected from your passion and believing adulthood means suppression of that inner child. And reclaiming the sovereignty means play without reason, let curiosity lead you, and listen to what your inner child has been asking for. Restore the innocence within you. restore the wonder and your imagination. And a great crystal here to help you with that is carnelian. Carnelian awakens joy, playfulness, and creativity. It heals shame-based blocks within us, and it helps us express our true desires. So your inner child holds the key to your magic. Now, when you forget you are divine, a lot of us forget that we are divine in form. We often feel small and powerless or lost, and we forget that we have that connection to Source, or we don't believe that we have or are capable of getting that connection to Source. We believe that we're just human. Now, reclaiming the sovereignty is really, you need to engage in practices that help you connect to your higher self and start trusting your higher self. Start doing little things like, this is going to bring me great joy, and do it and see what happens, that you align with your higher self and say, I'm going to trust you, I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. Speak your truth out loud and sit in silence until you feel yourself again. And remember that you are an infinite consciousness having a human experience, and that your divinity is your natural state. And a crystal that will help you here is selenite, because of course it helps you with that soul consciousness and clears energetic heaviness to restore remembrance that you're a multidimensional self. So remember that you are not becoming divine, you are remembering that you are divine. Surpassing the human mind. For me, illness taught me how to surpass the human mind. When my health took a nosedive and I really had to then stop all the fears that started to come, and my mind would play video nasties of what potentially could happen, and that surrendering through all of that helped me surpass my human mind. And I don't want to repeat it, thank you very much. And I realize that a lot of humans do struggle with this, struggle with that surrendering into whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I trust my higher self. I trust that there is a divine, and that, you know, I can be fully present here and not have to be in control, and that my divine aspect will take over. So the human mind is brilliant, but on its own it can be very noisy, it can be frantic, it can be a narrator with loops, doubts and old programs. Oh yes, I've experienced a lot, and I'm sure you guys have too, so I am not just saying it for me. Surpassing the mind doesn't mean abandoning it. It means gently placing it in the passenger seat. It is the moment your awareness shifts from thinking to knowing, from fear-driven reaction to soul-guided presence. When you surpass the mind, you tap into the intelligence of your heart and the wisdom of the body, and the infinite consciousness that lives beyond both. You start to see life through your linear logic, but through intuitive clarity. So you have a clarity, and sometimes you'll get lost. I know I did. I'd be like, oh, my body's making sensations that I don't recognize, and I'd be really, really nervous. And then all the fear would come up with it. And then I'd realize that the fear is just an energy of the reaction that I was having to my body. And as long as I trust my body to create the sensations that it needs to heal, all is well. And if it's not, then I'm going to find out what it's not. Embodying unity consciousness. We are all one energy, one consciousness, expressing itself in countless different forms. Unity consciousness is the remembrance that separation is only an illusion, that when you enter this state, you begin to see yourselves in others. When you become unified with everything that's around of us, and recognizing that, you know, the essence of who we are is in everything. And you dissolve judgment, comparison, loneliness. What replaces it is compassion, connection, and a deep peace that comes from knowing I am never ever alone, because I am everything. Embracing the inner mother, father, and child is another part of reclaiming your sovereignty. Within you lies a trinity of energies. The mother, which is the inner nurturing, intuitive, compassionate part of yourself. The inner father, which is the protection, the strong, grounded energy within you. And the inner child, the joyful, curious, creative one inside of you. And when these energies are balanced, you become whole. You no longer seek outside what you can give yourself within. Your inner mother comforts you. Your inner father guides and supports you. And your inner child reminds you to play, to dream, and to imagine. Integration of this trinity is a return of self-love, the foundation of spiritual sovereignty. And finally, knowing yourself completely. To know yourself is to understand your patterns, your shadows, your desires, and your truths. It is the courage to look inward, not with judgment, but with compassion. When you know yourself fully, you stop hiding, you stop pretending, and you stop shrinking. You meet yourself as the universe meets you, with infinite acceptance of who you are. And from this place, authenticity becomes effortless. The fifth dimension living is not about escaping reality. It is about shifting the frequency from which you engage with it. It is choosing love over fear, presence over worry, and flow over control. Trusting higher frequencies means believing that life is not happening to you, but through you, and ultimately for you. It is trusting your intuition, trusting your path, trusting what you desire desires you. In the fifth dimension, manifestation is not a technique to be learned. It is a natural byproduct of that alignment. When you hold that vibration of love, trust, and abundance, the universe mirrors it abundantly. Not because you've asked out loud for it, but because you became a match for it. There is no lack in the fifth dimension frequency. There's no fear, no hesitation. Your desires move toward you easily. In other words, life comes to you. Manifestation becomes less about doing rather than being. The fifth dimension isn't a place that you travel to. It is a state you awaken within you. You enter it when you release fear and choose love, when you reclaim your sovereignty, when you honor your inner trinity, and when you surpass the mind and listen to your soul. Then you are the doorway. You always have been. Thank you for journeying with me today. May you walk forward with trust, with remembrance, and with the knowing that the fifth dimension is not coming, it is here, and it lives within you. Until next time, stay sovereign, stay luminous, and most of all, my darlings, stay you.